Hello, I'm doing drum edits today, so I thought I'd make this video and show you how I approach drum edits. So as you can see here, I've got the drums there, all the ones in green. So we've got kick in, kick out, snare top, snare bottom, hi-hats, toms, 1 and 2, a floor tom. We got an overhead stereo and room mics, 2 room mics. Okay, they're stereo pairs. What I also have, because I'm a guitarist, I have a guitar in there just so that I've got a bit of a reference for me to listen to, so I don't get lost, as it were. Drum edits can be a little bit tedious. Some people find it really cathartic. I don't. If I'm going to be honest, I don't mind doing it. It's one of those jobs that I'm not massively enthralled by, shall we say. But I do it because it's important. It's an important part of the job. So the thing to keep in mind, okay, with drum edits is, with this song in particular, everything has been done very much the grid. Now, whether or not we want everything to be to the grid is a different matter. Because this is a human drummer, these are live drums, they're recorded here at Green Wave Productions. I like the human feel, but obviously we want it to be tight. Now, the advantage we've got here is this drummer, the drummer from Cruiser Tricks, Phil. He is a really good drummer, very good at keeping things on time. So if we look at so this start part, let's play this, give you an idea of how it sounds. So this, as you can see, is the raw recording. All I've done is pan and a bit of volume there, but there's no plugins on this at all. So these bits in the green here, there's no plugins, there's nothing going on. And yeah, it's literally just going out to this master and then that's it. There's nothing else there, okay? So straight off, we're sounding pretty good. Let's put a click track in just to give you But look, I mean, you can see it here. So if you look here, look, but he's very much in time, zoomed out like this. But if we go in, you'll see it's just a little bit out. I'm talking such a minuscule amount of time. It's crazy. But you know, at the end of the day, he's a human being, and if he's that little bit out, nobody cares. It's great. It's great. He's done a really good job, okay? Some parts are a little bit more out than others, so these are the little things that we're looking to tidy up, okay? With drums, there's 2 ways that I think that you can edit drums. You can do things with assistance. On Pro Tools, it's called Beat Detective. I'm not too sure what it's called on other DAWs. You will have the same thing. All DAWs are pretty much the same. Okay, it's a controversial topic in the audio industry world, but I think, you know, there's not a big difference between Logic and Pro Tools, for example. It's whatever you're comfortable doing. It's more about, for me, it's more about workflow than being all like, oh, I'm a Pro Tools man, or oh, I'm a Logic man, or whatever. Okay, so I like Pro Tools because I've always used Pro Tools, and the workflow, I know where all the shortcuts are, and I can work through Pro Tools. So learning Logic to me just doesn't seem like it's very logical, if I'm going to be honest. But anyway, I'm rambling. So the very, very first thing I would do is obviously get all the drums together, get everything labeled up, including your markers, okay? Then what I would do is I would group all of these drums, so all of these tracks. So whatever I do on these, everything will be done the same, okay? So if I do that and that, you see this, all of these tracks, all of these channels now work together as a group, okay? On Macs in Pro Tools, it's Command G, and so I presume that's probably like Control G on a PC. Group everything together. Then what I would do is, and this is a very important step, don't miss this step, okay? It's on Pro Tools, and I'm sure on all DAWs will be the same, is what you've got playlists, okay? Now, on Pro Tools, if you see the label here where it says kick in, so this little bit here with the arrow coming down, if you click on that, that's your playlist there. So we've got one playlist called kick in, okay? Now, if we go to duplicate that, and now you notice, look, kick in 01. But it's done it for the entire, for all these tracks, okay? Now, I'm going to be working on this playlist. So if I cut this back like that, for example, that will only affect this playlist. It won't affect the first playlist. If we click on there, look, they've come back. See, because we're back into the original playlist, okay? So I want to work on this playlist. Now, it's a very specific reason for that, okay? Because if everything goes wrong on your edits, you can always go back. Always go back to the start and start again, okay? So if you're working with a client, you're not gonna lose stuff, okay? So it's really important. Do that and do a save. That's what I just did then, okay? If you're gonna save, file, save, because I've just done it, or it's Command S here on a Mac. But anyway, so get all your channels in order, or your tracks in order, get your markers in, and then group all your channels, and then make a duplicate of the playlist, okay? Important stuff. Because if it goes wrong, you can always go back and you haven't got to worry about it. You haven't lost everything, because this is a live performance, okay? I can't turn around to the drummer and say, look, I've messed it up. Sorry, you're going to have to come in and re-record everything. They're going to be like, really? Really? This is a performance. I'm not necessarily going to play it exactly the same twice. Okay? You play it similarly, but not necessarily. So this is the best take on the day. This is the one that the drummer's happy with. We don't want to ruin that. Okay? So important stuff. Duplicate your playlists. So there's two approaches I find to editing in general, okay? There's the automated way in Pro Tools, it's called Beat Detective, or there's the nudging way of doing things. I do a hybrid of the two, and I look at where I can do the automated stuff, where I can. Keeping this within its group, so still group. So when I make a cut, an edit, it cuts the whole thing, okay? We're not just moving one thing, because we've got overheads and rooms. If I move a kick to one and it doesn't move in the overheads, it's going to sound weird, okay? So everything's got to move. That's the kind of foundational part. Let's dig into these drums. So the first thing that I'll look at, and what I'll do is I'll take it section by section. This is where the markers come into play, okay? So this first section going from the intro to the verse there, okay? Let's get rid of that click, okay. So it is really in time. But what am I hearing here? So I'm hearing the snare is quarter notes. Bang, bang, bam, 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 bam. And then I've got these kicks. They're going one and. So I'm going 1 and 2, 3, and 4, 1 and 2, 3, and 4. So it's like that. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. You see, like that. So I want to try to keep that pattern going. Okay. That's what comes to my ear. So what I can do, okay, to make my life a little bit easier is I'll go to this verse here and I will chop it there. Okay, because all I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this first section, just this intro, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is, because everything is quite on the beat, on the quarter notes. So you've got the snare is on the quarter notes, but the kick, we've got these half notes, okay? So I want to set the grid here to 8th notes, okay? Because we're complementing for this. So what we can do in Beat Detective, what I can do is I go to Event, Beat Detective, okay, and that brings this up. First thing here is I'm going to set this to audio because we're dealing with audio, not MIDI, okay? And what I'm looking to do is clip separation. So I'm going to hit that one there, okay? And 8th notes, okay? Because we're on 8th notes. Try to keep your grid to this contains part and the grid. I try to marry them up, okay, if I can. And then what we're going to do is hit capture section. You see how that moved these? And it's pointed out. Let's zoom in a bit. It's captured where these different parts are, okay? And now what we can do, as if by magic, if we hit separate, now it's separated all of these out, like so. Okay, now we can close that off. Nice, okay. So if we now, so that, the Beat Detective, basically it's picked out the transient and we've made a cut where the transients of each part is. So now what we can do is if we go, so now that everything's cut, what we can do is we can quantize it to the grid if we like, if that's what we want to do. If we want everything to be boom, boom, boom on in Pro Tools, if you go clip and down to quantize to grid, you can click it there. So the shortcut is Command 0 on a Mac. Okay. Now you've noticed that it's pulled this along. Let's see if this will listen. Now you can hear where those cuts have been made and things have been moved. So now we have gaps. You can see there's a big one right there. Okay. But if you look, everything is now on the grid, okay? So what we can now do while everything is selected is if you go to edit and then trim clip and then down to start to fill section. So now what that will do is it will fill all of the gaps that are there. So if you click that, look, boom, okay? So basically all that's done is pulled all of this stuff across. So now, not too bad, not too shabby. There's a few little bits in there that I can hear. But what we don't want is all of these clips to not have fades, okay? Because without fades, what you're going to get lots of little digital clicks. We don't want that. That's why when we make a cut, we do crossfades. So we can add crossfades to the whole thing, okay? Let's make sure that's highlighted. So we're going to make sure everything's highlighted, okay? And then if you do Command F, you get batch fades. You got fade in, okay? And then you've got the crossfade and then the fade out. Now, 10 mil, 50 mil might be a bit much. So let's do 10 mil. And then we've got 1 mil for the crossfades and then 10 mil on the way out, okay? And let's do that. So from when you're zoomed out like this, you probably don't really see it. But if you zoom in, there we go. There's your crossfades. If we go back to the start. That sounds really good. It's got the double pads in there. They're really quite subtle because these are unedited. So for some reason, it's not picked up that here. Now, that's because we were using the beat detective and it's picked this up, this section here as a transient, but for some reason it hasn't picked this up as a transient. I would say that probably needs to come over a bit if you were putting everything to the grid. Now, I'm a stickler for things. If I'm dealing with a human drummer, I want it to be drummed by a human. All I'm looking to do is tighten things up. I'm not looking for it to be massively on the grid. And this is, I think, is going to become more and more prominent in, especially in the rock and metal world, where we've kind of recent years, what's happened is everything has become massively processed and everything is very much on the grid. Everything is very much quantized, okay? The issue is, I think, at the moment, what's going to happen with things like the rise of AI music and things like that is that this kind of quantized stuff is going to become far too prominent, far too generic. The thing that's going to separate human artists from AI artists, I think, are these little inaccuracies, the things that are slightly off the grid, okay? So I'm always an advocate of things being just a tiny bit wonky. So just the guitar, I'm using just the guitar there as a reference. That's great. Sounds great. You know, and what you have to do is everything by your ear. Okay, your ears are what is important here at the end of the day. So even this section here, let's just hear this just to be on the safe side. Great. With the overs. It's great. It's great, you know, because it's not, if you look at this here, so if this was quantized 100%, that should be there and this should be here. So I suppose what we could do is we could go back. So if I wanted this to be more, let's say that I did, okay. What I could now do is chop that there, take these parts, delete that off, okay? Pull this back. To there like that. And then what we can do is the nudge approach, okay? Which I'm going to show you quickly now. Okay? So with this approach, what I call the nudge approach, or the tab to transient approach. So what you have is you're looking at this, we're going to look at this tiny section, okay? It's just literally these, getting these four into time. So it's perfectly quantized, okay? So we have here is, I've got this on 8th notes, but this is now 16ths. This here is a 16th note snare roll, okay? So if we going to do things, we need to see that on the grid. So we set that to 16ths and we can see where that is going to go. I'll set the marker to the beat before, and then hit the tab button, and that will tab it to the transient, and then bang, you can see it's hit that transient, and then I hit B to make the cut, okay, and then I will pull that across, okay, and then do the same. Hit the tab button, that's taking us to the transient. Hit the B button to make the cut. There we go. And then go again. Hit the tab button. Keep going until you hit the right transient. Hit the B button. There we go. We are in. Hit the tab button. Hit the B button. There. And then take these back like that. So now we've done that, we've noticed just like the beat detective, we've got these gaps. We've got one here, we've got one here. This one's not too bad, but we've also got one here. So what we need to do is fill those gaps. So what we do is select those and the preceding clips, okay? And then we're going to go to edit, trim clip, start to fill. So it's the same thing as the beat detective. And that's just filled that forward, okay? Now, once again, we need the fades put in. So Command F for batch fades. It's the same setup as before. So 10 milliseconds, 1 milliseconds, 10 milliseconds, pop those in there. And we've got now a nice, do that like that, and that now is bang in time and on. That's how we do the tab to transient approach on how to do that. So if you wanted to do, I mean, the tab to transient is obviously a longer way of doing things, but it's a lot more direct, and you could get really granular with it. And it really depends on what your client wants and how you want to do things. But I do a hybrid of the two, and I will look at what's going to get me to the end result quicker. Sometimes when you use the beat detective stuff, it chops it up so much that it just becomes a big mess for you to try and puzzle everything back together. So sometimes it's easier just to kind of take a bit more time and do things tab to transient and take it through, rather than the beat detective thing. So the choice is obviously up to you, but it's also take it section by section and make a kind of informed decision on it, whether or not you're going to do things tab to transient or more automated with the beat detective. That's it. Thank you for watching, and please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It really does help this channel out, and hopefully this has helped you out. I'll see you on the next video.